What's happening, brother?
Man, just good to
We
see you.
had
I'm gonna
some
see,
we
dude. I'm
had
gonna
some
see
events
you.
since we chatted last.
Yeah, dude,
Lots of things going down.
dude, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'd see. So I'm also in a ward in my church congregation. Our ward, the Del Cerro ward, is older, sort of an older skewing group. And so there's, it just feels, and I think this must be, I'm sure this is part of getting older ourselves, myself. You just end up being friends with people who are older, and then it seems like it just comes in big waves of people passing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And not even, I'm
Yeah.
not even talking about the tragedy stuff, just like in your personal life.
Right.
Just, I don't know if it's just ongoing or it
No,
just,
it's interesting the phases that we go through because in one phase it's, you know, people getting married, so you're off to go to this event because you have a friend that's getting married here or there, and then it's children being born and baptisms that happen, and then there's this ultimate phase at the end where we lose this person, that person, and it's kind of funny how that phase of life goes.
I've got a smaller, I've got a smaller incident because it's also top of mind and I want to get it off. I want to
Yeah,
stop
go
thinking about
for it.
it
Fire away.
before we tackle any of the big. So I'm at this book study that I attend on Wednesday nights, a 12-step type book study, recovery.
Hmm.
We we pay a little bit of rent to the room that we rent from it's this Methodist church, and like about east a little bit from here.
Hmm.
Anyway, we pay a little bit of rent, so everyone donates and chips in a little bit each week, and we have like a they serve coffee there, and there's like some minor expenses each week, and everybody kind of has their own little commitment. I'm the treasurer for the group, which I hate, but it's like it's not large amounts of money. I'm just not. I just forget stuff. So the coffee person back at the end of August had given me a receipt for like, I mean, a real small, like a relatively small amount of money. So like 20
Yeah.
bucks, around 20 bucks. Usually what I do is somebody hands me a receipt, and because we always have a little bit of cash on hand, I just give them the cash right there, round up like $21, $22. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
it's not like whatever. We're not like stringent bookkeepers because it's just not that amount. It's not a lot of money. Um, but I don't always write down, like I'll write stuff. I don't always, I forget to jot down on the, you make a note paid on whatever day. I didn't do that. And so today, so today at the end of the meeting, the guy was like, he didn't say it to me because he's this younger guy. And he had said to a mutual friend of ours. And my friend said, "Hey, I think you still, oh, we'll call him Mike. You owe Mike. I think you need to pay Mike for the coffee." I'm like, "Oh no, I paid him. Like, I remember that. I paid him. I have the receipt." Um, and that was just my reaction. I was like, but I wasn't mad. I wasn't like, no, no, no. I was just like, no, no, I paid him. Like it was kind of like, I'm distracted so easily, and I really like this kid. Like, he's a nice. We're friends. The kid that feels slighted, and he was
Yeah.
really like offended, and he's like, like he wouldn't talk to me. It was one of those passive aggressive things where he wouldn't talk to me like directly. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's like, I wouldn't, dude, I wouldn't. He got real up, like real like defensive about it. I'm like, dude, well, just tell me how much it was. I'll just give you, like, but and like no one, everyone's kind of talking over each other, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I'll just give you, like, I wasn't meaning to accuse you of running a scam for
Trying to
20.
trying to resubmit a bill that had already been recouped or something like that.
And what I was also trying to say was it's super feasible and believable that I would space it in the moment. It's hectic at the end of the meeting. I didn't make the note. I didn't mean to cause offense. I'm like, dude, I'm sure you're right. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I
Yeah.
will easily like have forgotten and then missed. Anyway, I don't know. It wasn't. I think he went away offended, and hopefully I get to see him next week, and I'll just go, dude. I'm super sorry. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't. There was no energy around it, but he took it a certain way, and his reaction was strong enough. I don't think he's lying, and I don't even think he's wrong. Like he could have easily, like, let's say I did pay him, and he very easily, like I could have done, stick it in my pocket, totally forget about it, and then the next week go, man, I don't think I ever got paid for that. But just because, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
super,
Yeah.
but because it involves money and it involves a dude asking another dude, like, hey man, I need, like, he doesn't want to be seen like he's desperate for $20.
Right.
And by the way, we're all desperate for $20. $20 is $20. Like,
Right.
but because sometimes there's like, and then I felt bad, and I didn't want to like make a bigger scene because there's people kind of standing around, and I was trying to like protect his pride, and I didn't want it to be a thing. I'm like, dude, I was just like, and then I told my friend, I'm like, how much do I owe him? I'll just give him. But then it was too late because he'd kind of stormed off and he drove off, and
Oh no.
and I hate that stuff, man.
Yeah.
I also hate being wrong, and the chances that I was in the wrong are really high because I can get spacey, and I don't, I didn't make the note on the receipt, or I had the
Yeah.
$22 and I really thought that I gave it to him, and I didn't because somebody, interrupted, and this was, 5 weeks ago. So like
Yeah.
I should have just defaulted immediately to you, like, oh my gosh, I thought I gave it to you. I'm sorry, here's $20 because we have it. Like it's no one's,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gosh, I hate that. And it's
No,
like,
people act funny when it comes to money, and with good reason. I mean, especially with things the way they are now, with, the inflation we've had to deal with for years now at this point, and just the cost of everything. It still blows my mind. Like I've made it, and Molly always gives me a hard time because she's like, "Why don't you pack a lunch and take it? And you got a microwave and a fridge at your office. Just take food we have at our house." But I've made it kind of like a reward for the hard work I put in, that I go out and I get to eat something every day, And so I'll go over to Neater's and grab a salad. Brian, bless his heart, he'd probably not like that I go to Neater's and get food from Neater's, but
yeah, so good though.
but you go order a salad or a sandwich from these places now, and it's like normal, it's like $15, and it's like, holy smokes, that used to cost like five. So
It's
and people
yeah.
get funny about money.
Well, and there's so many just in that small interaction. There's a lot of layers to it. So he's younger, and like gas is expensive. I think he's driving
Yeah.
from a fair. I think it's like $20 is $20, but then he's also got his pride. He's like he doesn't want to, and then he's like frustrated. Like if I really did forget to pay him, that's also inappropriate. Like if I spaced it and didn't give him the money right then, first of all, that's ridiculous because we have it like in the till.
Right.
It wasn't
Right.
like, oh my gosh, I need to make sure I pay next week. Hey, it's not like, hey, spot me $20 and I'll get you back. Like, so there's that. So like that's the only reason I felt like, oh no, I gave it to you right then. That's because that's usually what happens when someone brings me a little receipt. I go, boom, here you go. It's done. Now I didn't keep good enough bookkeeping and make a note of that. I just
Yeah.
put the little receipt in the bag, and then I was like, moved on. I hadn't thought about it. If I forgot and he's now got a little thing festering for 5 weeks, my little resentment is like, dude, because I thought I mean, we're friends, and I like to default to friendship. Like you could have told me the next week, or you could have told me any of the 4 weeks since then.
Right.
Hey, you didn't pay me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Here you go. Done. So what I think is I actually don't know, and I would like to default to, dude, here's your $20, dude, for sure. That
Yep.
wasn't my reaction, and I already sent him a message. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry, no disrespect, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
The chances that I'm in the wrong are equally as high as him being in the wrong. But those small things can, like, he was really like, yeah, there's just so much. Oh man, I hate that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I also like, I love to be wrong, not all the time, but it's so easy to go, you know what? I'm sure I did. I was wrong. Like, because there's a couple of things I could have done better. I could have been more diligent in the moment. I could have made a more clear note. This receipt was handed to me on this day, put it in the ledger. But I haven't done that because it's such a small amount of money each week. I
Right.
haven't been like spreadsheet diligent with it. I just keep it in this, zipper
Well,
pouch.
it's funny how if because I've found now if I'm working with a patient, for example, and I say, oh, I came across this article the other day. It's a really cool new research blurb that talks about whatever, fill in the blank. I'm going to send it to you. And what I found is if I don't turn around right when I say that and write it down and put it on like a little to-do list,
Hmm.
I'll forget to do it. And
Yep.
I'm kind of in the similar boat with one of my best friends who's a former mission companion of mine. He lives up in Layton and he works for Delta. And so
Okay.
a couple weeks ago, he had me come out because they were hosting a health fair at the airport
Okay.
in the Delta Lounge, right? And so I've had an opportunity to work with him and his wife as, as patients of mine as well. And he was like, "Hey, my wife's going to start, going back through the cleanse that you put her on before because we were dealing with some GI stuff." So I was like,
Hmm.
"No problem. I'll just bring a little baggie up with all the supplements and we'll go like basically round two." That was probably like 6 months ago. And he still hasn't, because he was going to Venmo me a little money to pay for the products that I brought him, and I just dropped him off. And I made a little note saying like, "Hey, here's the cost of the product. Just whenever you have time, shoot me a Venmo." And twice now he's been like, "Dude, I totally forgot. I haven't paid you yet." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Just whenever you get a chance, just shoot me a Venmo." And to this day, he still has not sent it. And I know that like for me, it doesn't bug me. It actually kind of makes me laugh a little bit. But I know if that hits his brain again, he's gonna freak out. And so I should probably reach out to him and just remind him, "Hey, dude, you still haven't paid me for those products yet." Because I know that that would give him a lot of like, "Oh, okay, let me get this done," so that he doesn't have to stress about it. I don't know. That's just
So
something
what
I've
I'm
gone through recently.
so here's another great example of like small uh, I know how I am, and too much of my life I've been too much the like, oh my gosh, you're so right. I'm gonna send it to you tonight. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
but like, I'm too much because both are again like we've talked about before. Like both are valid,
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm learning to value is money is money. Like, it's I know because I have enough life behind me knowing how I am, if I don't pay something or do something or write it down in the moment, I will forget. Therefore, it's no longer, I don't get to use it as an excuse, even if it is a small denomination. So
Mm-hmm.
like and I'm also got the, I've also got the codependency thing. So I want to fix everything immediately. So
Right.
so this friend of mine's been harboring a bit of a resentment, I can assume, for the last 4 weeks. Now I can get immediately defensive and go, dude, why didn't you just talk to me 4 weeks? And he has my, you know what I mean? Like that, but that's not,
Yeah, if you can
that's,
text each other too, it's like
yeah.
just you should have texted me
Yeah, you
like
should
four
have
weeks
texted
ago.
me. Yeah, like, or just come up to me directly. Cause we have like, dude, it's like we had, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a large amount of money, but I also don't want to diminish it. And oh, what was I going to tell you? Oh, one time, somebody, it was one of the it was a mutual friend of ours. This was a couple years ago. Somebody had bought everybody because we were en route somewhere else. Somebody had bought everybody a bunch of smoothies,
Hmm.
and then sent out Venmo reminders to everybody to get paid back. And it was, so whatever a smoothie costs, like $15. I don't know. Well, with the additives and
Nowadays.
stuff nowadays, yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, totally. And we were in I'm like, cool, no problem. It's a Venmo with the thumb, boop, send
Yep.
it. I spaced it. We were busy. I forgot about it. And that person sent me another reminder and like, hey, you need to like, not, not rude at all, polite but firm. And I was and then I sent it. And I was so glad that they did that instead of doing what I would have done, which is I would have gone, it's $15. It's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but it should be, and that person clearly is like, detail oriented enough to go, by the way, don't forget that $15.
Hmm.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Because I want to be more like that. And you know what I mean? It shouldn't just be a big, if it's not a big deal, you say it in the moment. I got it. It's not a big deal. Next time you get it, that's what it is.
Right.
Now, but that's not what we're talking about. Like, no, like, wow, that's, they picked up a lot of food that day. Everyone pays them back. Um, anyway, but man, money, nothing causes like more like emotional reaction quicker than the money. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Like, and I like, yeah, I try to value, I try to be mindful of people's relationship with it because mine is sometimes all too casual and I'm trying to like develop some better habits. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I totally get what you understand because I know that my friend that I'm talking about, he would much rather, he would prefer that I reach out and remind him so he's held accountable and he can pay me back because there's some level of gratification I know that will come from him doing that,
Hmm.
knowing that this is off his plate, I got that taken care of, I paid my buddy back, but I'm in the same position where I'm like, "But if he doesn't pay me, that's okay. I get it." But I know that he'd be more upset with me if I didn't remind him to pay me back. So I'm actually, when we're done, I'm gonna shoot him a message and just give him a reminder
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I know he would appreciate that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I would have, if this person had come to me earlier and said, like the next week, and said, hey man, I didn't get paid back yet. I'm like, oh my gosh,
yep,
sorry. I
yep,
mean, I like to think maybe I would, maybe my reaction would have been the same. Was like, wait, I did pay you. I'm almost certain I gave it to him,
yeah.
but that, and because that was my first, like, it wasn't even like a defensive, like, how dare you? I was like, no, man, I gave you
I
that.
did it.
Like,
Yep,
I did.
yep.
I remember. Now, I'm a space case too. So that's what I told him. I'm like, dude, you know what, man? If I was wrong, dude, I am sorry. And Dan, thank you for letting me know. Like,
That's what I love about processes. And watching my wife do this is she's worked with the young women's organization in our church of, on a whether it's a Tuesday or Wednesday night activity, she goes out with the girls. Maybe they stop by, get donuts somewhere. And same thing. It's like smoothies, donuts, drinks. But the policy is you bring the receipt, you meet with the ward clerk, they fill out a formal page, you submit that to the church, and then the church reimburses you with the check. The process is so smooth, but you got to go through the right steps to do it. And it's not like jumping through hoops. It's like one or two things, easy peasy, gets taken care of. But if you don't go through the process, things fall through the cracks, and you're like, wait a second, did they pay me back for buying all those, the cups for the picnic or the paper plates, if you don't keep the receipt, you don't submit the form, you're not going to get paid back. And that's just the process you got to go through.
the only part that's like that's funny about his reaction is his immediate reaction was, hey man, he didn't just say, hey man, I never got that $20. And I said, no, I think I thought I paid you. No, actually, no, you didn't. Oh, okay. Here, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was like, because it was like I was in the middle of something else anyway. He's like, yo, dude, I wouldn't. Hey, look, I wouldn't lie about that, man. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah, you're like, hold on.
yeah, nor, yeah, like that's a little extreme, but like, but because people have a relationship with like money and being in a position to ask.
Yeah.
I've certainly misplaced $20 before, like, but I also like that didn't. It didn't occur to me to be like I wasn't accusatory, like, hey man, you probably just forgot. Like I didn't. I'm glad I didn't say that because I
Yeah.
don't think that would have helped anything. But
Right.
I'm also super stoked to be wrong. Go, wow, man, dude, I'm sorry. I really
Yeah.
thought that here.
Yeah.
Please don't. We also don't want to lose our coffee person. So
Exactly.
please forgive me. we
Well,
allow.
I was talking about that with an employee
Yeah.
the other day because I overheard him chatting with the patient that he was working with about how in his family dynamics there's certain personalities that, like, his mom, this is what he was describing, his mom has a very, very hard time apologizing for anything. She's the type of person that would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way." That's
Oh,
the type of apology that she, instead of saying I'm sorry for, and owning up. And I just, in front of a couple of my staff, I just said, and just my personal opinion, I think I was like, there's something incredibly powerful about being able to raise your hand and say, I was wrong, or I made a mistake, or I apologize for XYZ. there's an incredible amount of peace that comes from that, being able to do, at least for me personally, to admit that I was wrong or,
Yeah.
that
Like,
just a thought.
so it's so no, I come across this a lot in different contexts. So so to finish this one example, like the and it's not, I'm not this person's psychologist, but when the immediate reaction is he's already irritated that he has to ask again. He didn't ask me directly. He asked his older my our mutual friend who's also closer to my age. So there's probably some underlying thing there. And then he's like, "Hey man, I wouldn't lie about that." I'm like, oh, it hadn't
Yeah.
occurred to me until you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think you
Well,
were
that
like,
that also gets a little frustrating because it becomes a game of telephone, and I
yeah.
think everyone understands how that game works. It's like
Now,
you want to hear it from the horse's mouth, like just be be committed to communicating with the
I didn't,
person that you want to communicate with, not go through a third party to try to accomplish something like that.
now and this will dovetail into another example, but my real emotional reaction is I'm like, hey, man, first of all, relax. Second of all, like,
Yeah.
just why didn't you just like, it's 5 weeks now. Like,
Hmm.
how much is it? Like, if I really didn't pay you, and this is the first I'm hearing about it, okay, that's probably wrong. Like, but I didn't, but see, like, I didn't want to, this is all in hindsight as I'm driving home, like feeling bad because I got the codependent. I'm like, because I like this kid. I thought we were like, I don't know. I'm also not direct. I was, and like, I don't want someone to hold a resentment over $22. Also, if I didn't pay him, and even if I did, here's another 20, dude,
Yeah.
thank you for being of
Right.
service to the meeting. Thank you for, because you got to like, it's kind of annoying. You got to go out of your way. You got to pick up the treats and the coffee and whatever they got, and then you got to bring it. And he's probably like, not always stoked to do that after a long day of work. And right on, man. But
Right.
like, dude, so what this reminds me of is two things. Is when I was doing a lot of when I was living in LA and I was doing a lot of improv. When I was studying at the Second City and we were doing sketch the sketch comedy
Hmm.
conservatory. The Second City style of writing comedy sketches, or even just plays, like, but usually it's comedy sketches, is you're doing all the you're improvising scenes a lot, like based like you're in a scene with you and I are on stage together, and we start by getting one suggestion, like give me a suggestion of a non-geographical location.
Hmm.
You know the Jiffy Lube,
Hmm.
which is
Yep.
technically a geographic, whatever. Like first, or the first word that comes to your mind, banana. And
Hmm.
so then we start a scene from just as the, like banana and Jiffy Lube are the jumping off points. It doesn't mean it has to be in a Jiffy Lube. It doesn't mean there even has to be a banana. It's the inspiration. It could be like, it could be something about fruit. It could be something about we're blue collar workers and we're and we're, like, or it could be literally anything. That's the creativity part of improvisation.
Hmm.
So then you're trying to, in the moment, make a compelling scene. And when people are new to improv, one of the things that almost everyone defaults to, as you, like you and I were making up a scene, we tend to default to, because what we want to do is we're trying to create tension or something interesting watching.
Hmm.
What's in a lot of our DNA is we think that to create something compelling to watch, it has to be like there has to be some kind of tension or argument. The
Hmm.
desire to argue is like so ingrained sometimes we don't even realize it. And
Yeah.
that's fine if that's what the scene is about, but it doesn't ever lead anywhere. Like it doesn't lead anywhere interesting, and it's really funny. It's way more creative to, we've talked about yes and, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so the way this shows up in like in a very unexpected way is what, speaking of older people, I've been around more and more people that are in various stages of like dementia, Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
or people in memory care facilities. And one thing that, if I have a friend right now, an older, he's older. I think he's, how old is he? In his late 70s. He's the husband of the person that recently passed in our
Hmm.
ward, and he's a kind of a long-winded individual, but now because his memory's starting to go a little bit, if his thought process gets interrupted, it really causes him, it really agitates him. I'm not saying
Yep.
he's pre-Alzheimer's or pre-dementia, but it makes him really angry because he can't get the thread back. And um, I know how, because I know him long enough, I know how to, like, I can just listen to him talk. But a lot of people, their reaction is if they, like, he's talking and talking, and they'll kind of like correct something he's saying, and that'll throw him off his thing. Do you
And
know
then
what I
he gets
mean?
ticked. Yeah.
He gets ticked. Or if someone is actually like, they actually have like dementia or some Alzheimer's diagnosis, and they're constantly repeating things, it doesn't help to deny their reality. They're seeing
Hmm.
something or remembering something or experiencing something that's very real to them. And so to go, actually, that's not where we are. That's not who I am. It
Yeah.
doesn't help. So, and it's incredibly hard because it can be repetitive and it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, but they can't see, like, it's more helpful in the moment to just kind of roll with it. So you don't want to enable, but you also don't want to like just deny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, I totally forgot how that related. Other than like, oh. So in improv, it's the rule about if a scene or a conversation devolves into argument. Here's how. Okay, this is what I was thinking about.
Yes, it's coming together.
Usually, it's the in a improv scene anyway. The best thing to do is to lose. So if we're arguing and our points of view are kind of denying each other, the way we get out of it is one of us has to go, you know what? You're so right. I lose the argument because that then, even though that lowers my status in the scene, we can now move on to something else. We can get out of that. Do you know what I mean? It
Right.
doesn't mean it doesn't mean I have to concede my point, but to end that ineffective line of conversation, or it's just going to be that. It's just going to be contentious, and that won't go anywhere. So one person has to go, you know what? I, I, I see your point. Let's move,
Hmm.
so just so we can move on. And I think that's kind of interesting because I don't, I often find myself having a hard time talking to people that have truly opposing viewpoints to mine. I'm in. It kind of depends on the individual.
Hmm.
Like I feel like you and I actually have a lot of opposing viewpoints, but there's so much that we have in common, and perhaps we're too good of friends that we can't. Maybe it's not a good example. Do you know what I mean? Like we have too
Yeah.
much mutual respect for each other. So even though we might like align different politically, or whatever it might be, there's so many more things in common that we've already established that we can easily take a moment and I can appreciate your perspective. So I take it back. Maybe that's not the best example, but what do you think of that? Was you let me talk for like, I just talked for like 10 minutes. So what do you,
No, no, that was great. I loved everything that you said there. And I think like I don't know if there's like underlying tones or feelings or sentiment from the last conversation we had, because I near the end of it I said, "Wow, that was fiery." Like we got kind of fired up there. Because I thought the last time we chatted was a great conversation. But I mean, to your point about the getting older, the memory loss thing, there's something, and I think there's a, just to give you a little clinical perspective on why folks with progressive dementia and Alzheimer's get angry. And it's because there are flashes and moments of time where they experience, and for a long time before it gets really bad to end stages of neurodegeneration, they recognize that they're not the same anymore, that their thought processes is going, they're going south, they're not as thinking clearly, the words that they want to use to express what they're feeling don't come, they're struggling to find the word. And I think there's moments where it hits them and they get really upset because
mm,
it really is, it's a pride, it's an ego thing. I have my opinions about certain things. We talked a lot about Charlie Kirk last time. You have, and Jimmy Kimmel and all that stuff, right? You have your perspective, you have your opinions on how those things were working and how you were seeing those certain things. And even though I would say at this point in our lives, you and I aren't losing our minds, but it's very closely associated with what people that go through neurodegeneration experience in the anger aspect of it, because it really is like a pride ego thing for those folks that are getting older. Like my grandpa, for example, I could just share this quick story, and I may have shared this before, but he had had two cardiac events that didn't take his life, but doctors were rightly concerned about it. So they put him on statin medications. Now, statins are classically types of medications that will manage or forcefully decrease cholesterol levels. And the thought is, we're going to put you on this type of drug to
Mm.
protect your heart. We don't want you to have another heart attack again. But what we're finding in all the research now is that if you decrease levels of cholesterol drastically, or I guess too much,
Hmm.
your brain needs that. It's cholesterol is actually a fuel for brain power, especially when it comes to neurodegenerative diseases. So it's very common that people go on statin medications and they develop Alzheimer's very quickly. In the last about 5, 6 years of my grandfather's life,
Whoa.
it got so bad he had no idea who I was, who his son was, who's my dad. He didn't know anything from anyone or whatever. It got so bad that in the retirement home that they lived in, my grandmother actually chose, for the last 2 years of his life, she chose not to go down and visit with him because it wasn't the same person that she had married. So her Gordon was gone. And I remember one of the last times that I went to visit him, he had dentures, and he was, we walk in the room and he's off in La La Land, and he, looks over and the guy's got this grin on his face and he's missing like 4 teeth of his dentures. And we're looking around. It's like my dad's like talking to the aides, and they're like, "What happened?" They were like, "He got so mad." And these are instances where you get that glimpse of, I'm trapped inside this vessel. This is not who I am. And you get this glimpse of, I can't believe this is happening to me right now. He took his dentures out and threw them at one
Oh,
of the aides, missed him, and it hit the wall and busted his teeth out, and they never got him fixed. And so
ah,
for the last little bit of his life, he had gaping holes in his dentures because how angry he was. Um, but
yeah.
I agree. I think that's a wise, like what you said, that it's a wise thing to consider. Hey, I don't know if we'll ever concede, or definitely, and there's certain situations where we're not changing opinion at all, because we're very confident in the opinions that we have about certain things, where that's what I believe, that's what you believe. But to be able to diffuse the situation, so like you said, there isn't that combative force and that anger that creeps in. Um, I think that goes back to the point I was kind of making before of, like, it's okay to raise your hand and say, okay, I I'm sorry. I might not think the same way that you do, but I apologize if I upset you in some way. If I had said something to you that got that kind of that rage or that anger going, and to be able to diffuse the situation, like you said, to end the fight and stomp that fire out, because all that leads to is, all right, let's talk about something else. Let's get on another topic. Let's talk and let's have a conversation. I think there's way too much power there in that dynamic to actually converse, than to get to a point where it's like your buddy. It's like, d maybe he doesn't talk to you anymore. Does he quit? He's not the coffee guy anymore. He's not going to come into
Right.
your meetings because he got so offended and his ego was so burned over $20 that
Yeah.
now he's not going to come back to the book club.
Right,
Things like
right.
this happen all the time too. All the time.
That's why I think it's kind of an interesting analogy, because it the money involved is it's no one's personal. It's not it's the group's. The money collected is the group's money. So it's not like
Right.
one person borrowed a sum of money. It's not. It's a little like, not like you're. It's just he paid for something and needed to be reimbursed. And I am, well, at the time I was like, oh no, man, I paid you for that. Now
Yeah.
he immediately took that and felt very strongly and has now reiterated a couple of times, hey man, I don't lie. That's not my get down. I don't do that. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So at some point, which probably has nothing to do with me or the $20 or the meeting, at some point there was he was made to feel bad to ask for something,
Hmm.
or he's learning boundaries. He's also young and he's a relatively, yeah, like also it could just be the end of a long day. But
Yeah.
because there's like,
Yeah.
there is no actual right thing there. Like there is like, even if, I mean, the worst case scenario, which is the least likely, is he is like flat broke and he's like, I think Kendall's an idiot, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
just say, I'm just gonna act like I never got paid. No, I for sure, that never even entered my head like at
Right.
all. I don't think that's the
Yeah.
case at all. I guess maybe, but I know him to be he strikes me as a trustworthy individual. The
What if
likelihood, yeah,
what if there were periods in his earlier life when he was younger that maybe he wasn't as honest as he is now, and he had to learn a lesson, and
yeah,
now he has changed that character trait of himself that it kind of is disgusting to even think that I already learned from those mistakes in the past. I'm not that person anymore. And so there's some level of defense that comes from that. I don't know. Maybe that's it's just a thought that came
yeah,
in my
and
mind, you
and
know?
I really don't want to be married to the like. So I can only look at what I did and what I didn't do, which is my initial reaction was, oh no, dude, I gave you that, like I paid you, like, and I think that came off as like affable. It might have come off totally different, which is also, if
Hmm.
we ever get to talk, he probably won't ever want to talk about it again. But I think it's interesting. Like
Right.
my immediate reaction is gonna be like, oh my gosh, like I really do think I paid him, but okay, so I was wrong. I can definitely have been wrong about things like that too. And
Hmm.
now that wasn't my first response or reaction, but then I'm like, dang, dude, I mean, okay, like, yeah, then I was wrong.
Hmm.
But not because I want to make him, I want to shame him for $20 or prove a point. I just go, oh, like, let's just resolve this. So the strong emotional response is interesting from him, and it's usually around, like, sometimes it's usually got nothing to do with me. Like, strong emotional responses in the moment usually have nothing to do with the individual. That's like, it's sort of like in a more extreme case, like if someone's, and this is a bad example, I guess, but like people, some of my clients at work, they have various stages of like psychosis, and
Hmm.
they'll be venting something and speaking very aggressively to me because I'm the audience, but it's not directed at me. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yep.
that's, and
You're just the sounding, you're the sounding board.
they've never been in a position to even express, they've never even been allowed to verbalize the thoughts because no one's listening, or no,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? So they have somebody that clearly cares about listening, and now they want to get all the stuff out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
what
mean
I feel,
that's
yeah.
a big part of as I think back at, my missionary service, when I was 19, went off and served an LDS mission. And back then it was before Preach My Gospel came out, and we were still going through the old purple manual that was like learning the discussions in order, like 1 through 6.
Hmm.
But one thing that they teach you in the MTC in the training center is the commitment pattern. Do you remember that? And a big part of the commitment pattern is learning how to resolve doubts. Because
Hmm.
that's one thing as a missionary, you just get bombarded with is, oh, you're wrong. You guys believe the wrong thing. You're preaching false doctrine. And, or maybe it's not even that combative. It's like, I don't know if I want to give up alcohol and coffee and my cigarettes. And so I don't know. And the whole thing about resolving doubts is utilizing a very intelligent uh, conglomeration of questions to get people to really open up. And I think ultimately what we're trying to get to as you learn how to teach people in that missionary model is, what are you really afraid of? And I know we've talked about this before, is like what truly, if you peel the layers of the onion off, what's the fear? Like where's the fear coming from? And because that's really where doubts come from. Um, but I don't know. I just that just came to my mind to just bring that up about the in Spanish it's el modelo de compromiso, or the commitment pattern, and a big key aspect of getting people to not necessarily even change behavior, but maybe see the way that you see things, or see the way that you're trying to help them see maybe in a different way, is resolving doubts. And it always boils down to asking questions. That's one of the beautiful things. And if you look through the New Testament and just the teachings of the Savior, he was a master at asking questions and getting people through his questions to even answering questions with questions, and getting people to open up and just expand their minds and think outside the box, maybe of outside the paradigms that they're normally in.
That's a good point. I mean, I can
Hmm.
tell you what so using our seemingly innocuous example of the $20 coffee commitment, because this is interesting, because my first, even as you were saying that, and I really like the example of how Christ teaches it through asking questions. Um, my first reactive thought, my reactive brain, or what do they say in what do they say in cognitive therapy? My emotional brain, or my
Primitive brain.
not primitive, but it's like there's a modality of treatment where they talk about your wise brain, which is like the
Mm.
more non-reactive, and then there's is it the emotional brain? Anyway,
Hmm.
so the reactive is like, I was thinking about his perspective, the other guy, and I was thinking, well, he's probably afraid of being seen as like desperate for $20, or he's
Right.
afraid of being accused of being a thief, and that's not that's I'm like, wait a minute, that's not my side of the street. I don't know
Hmm.
what he was thinking. I only
Yep.
know what he said and what he did. What's but but the reason it sticks with me, so it's there must be a fear. What's my fear? And that's, oh, I'm not a very good treasurer.
Mm.
I'm
Yep.
terrible with money. I've only recently started like developing some very basic like financially responsible habits. And so my ego and pride is like, they're gonna think that I'm stupid, or that I'm bad, or that I'm a bad treasurer, and that
Yeah.
somehow I'm running it, and then I'm a thief. You know what I mean? Or something.
Yeah. Or
They're gonna think less of me.
you're incapable. Let's get someone else.
Oh, he froze. He froze. He froze. Oh shoot. I'm gonna send you a message. I can pause it. Cool. Yeah, it allows to pause, and it just resumes right where I left off.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you all of a sudden froze. I was in the middle of saying, how the perspective of, you don't want to be seen as the guy that's totally incompetent and doesn't know what he's doing, and you can't fulfill your duties because you're an idiot, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or and then I just
Disorganized. Yeah.
yeah, you're disorganized, and we should put somebody else in there that actually knows what they're doing. Like that
Hmm.
doesn't feel good for anybody. I mean, it's just that's my life as a physician. I had a really hard time early in my career. Actually, I was petrified of working with men that were older than me, because right out the gate, my initial instinct was to think, these guys are sitting across from me and they're coming to see me for help, and I'm just some young dude that doesn't have the life experience that they have. I have no idea what I'm doing. There was so much insecurity that I had. I've now greatly overcome that at this point in my career, but I'd say at least the first 5 years of my career as a physician, that was something that terrified me, was working with men that were older than me.
Hmm.
And then one other thing that I just was thinking of too, that I brought up as we both froze there for a second, was you just got called to be a counselor in your presidency in the elders quorum. That's a big responsibility. Like, and I think the same thing is kind of in play there, is like, you don't want to be seen as the incompetent counselor that doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, there's again, and I think it goes to ego again. It's like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
that guy. So I get where that fear is coming from 100%.
Yeah. I was intimidated at that, because the men that I'm serving with are like many, many years of experience,
Hmm.
like both in the church and professionally, and I'm like, what am I doing?
You're gonna have guys, I assume you probably have people in your quorum that have served in bishoprics, that have served as bishops or as state callings or all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's intimidating. And I think that kind of points to the fact of what I was saying about, in my line of work, I remember early on I had a doctor that actually wrote a letter of recommendation for me to get into graduate school, who was the chiropractor that worked with my wife as we were going through college. I respected him greatly enough to approach him and say, "Hey, would you be willing to write a letter of recommendation for me to get in school?" One day, I look at my schedule and it's like, "Oh, he's coming in to see me as a patient." Like I was terrified of that experience, but I learned a lot from it. It was
Wow.
really cool.
Wow.
But I mean, I guess my point is peeling the layers off, asking the right questions, especially if you feel like things are getting heated with somebody, just to kind of really feel where the anger, where the hurt, where the raw emotion, where the fear is coming from, I think is very effective in communicating with people.
Yeah, guys, it was, yeah, I had no idea he was I'm glad he told me.
Yeah. So
But
so is everything ironed out, or is there still kind of that?
I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, I don't have this guy's phone number to my friend. I'm like, send me his number so I can text him. I don't think he's gonna. I didn't call him.
Yeah.
I just sent him a message. I'm like, dude, if I was wrong, no, I didn't even say it like that. I said, I didn't want to like be. I'm sorry you feel that way, but like
Yeah.
I really think I paid you, but it's fine. Like I was like I'm careful not to do that. I was
Yeah.
like, dude, my bad. I'm super disorganized. Um, thanks for being understanding. It was kind of like that was the because I didn't want it to go any longer
Right.
because now he was mad enough at me toward the end of the meeting. He rushed out of there. I was trying to talk to him.
Hmm.
He's like, no, it's fine. It's no big deal. I'm like, let's just figure this out. Like what?
And then you hear him screeching
Yeah, he took
out
off
of
pretty quick,
the.
and I was like, "Oh man, like this is solvable."
Uh,
So the only way is to go, dude, I was wrong. Like like that's all that really matters.
yeah.
Like because the other thing would be for him to have come on and go, "Hey, I never got paid for that," and I go, "Oh shoot, you're right. Here you go. Here it is."
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so I mean, the great lesson of it is like don't take anything for granted. You gotta be more diligent. You gotta make little notes. You gotta make better record.
Hmm.
This is the value of record keeping. That's one thing about like this new calling in the church. It's like whoa, our record keeping is really good in some aspects, and really like we haven't been certain things we haven't been doing, and so
Hmm.
we're in the process of like looking at those lists and things and like keeping track of people, but also like they really thought of everything like
Hmm.
oh there's this system in place to really keep keep track of where people are and who's taking care of who, and it's a lot like yeah like I get it's the value of like accurate record keeping I'm I'm glad this happened because if
Hmm.
I have to learn a value, if I have to learn a lesson this way over, because I don't want it to be like I don't want to give it the disclaimer of well, this it's a I don't want it to be a seemingly small thing. Like this is somebody I care about, and I something in my behavior was wrong, and
Hmm.
I want to be accountable for that. Um, I don't want to like if I was really dead set on it would be different if I had written it down repaid on such and such a date. And then he said, hey, you never paid for that. I'd be like, well, no, here it is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wrote it down. I didn't write it down. I just gave it to him. So that
That's
doesn't,
even in just politics, whatever. There's a phrase that's commonly used of "I got the receipts." You know,
hmm
oh,
yeah, yeah.
you want to try to convince me of what you're telling me is true. It's like, well, I have the receipts. Like, here's a tweet that so and so put up here in Black Hand, and this is what they said. Then it's like, so I'm not just making it. You get what I'm saying? So
hmm
it's funny how it's commonly used nowadays of "I got the receipts." because it's a way to track things. It's very effective.
That's
Very
true.
effective. So I was going to ask you too, as you were talking about improv, were you ever into the Whose Line Is It Anyway show? Did you
Oh
love watching
yeah,
that show?
yeah.
That was one of my favorite shows of all time. Those guys are hilarious.
They're so fast.
Ryan Stiles, who are some of the other guys? Wayne Brady, um, Colin Mockery. Like those guys are so good. I
Yeah.
loved watching that show. And then Drew Carey was the host for a long time.
And what makes the fundamentals at work there, for the most part, at least like like the strong, like it's like, oh, they're so quick-witted, and it
Hmm.
almost, even though it is edited for television, they're still making that stuff up. Like then none of that's
On the
rehearsed,
fly. Yeah, yeah.
on the fly. You'll notice that in most cases, or a large majority of the interactions, and sometimes the things that lead to the funniest, is you can tell that they are doing their, each performer is doing their best to set the other person up for success. They're
100%. Yep.
they're they're not looking to get a bigger laugh. In fact, they're not really trying to. Every now and again, you can see somebody do something goofy just because
Yeah.
it's gonna be outrageous, or it's gonna be like shocking, or it's gonna put like a nice little like button like end on the scene. But when they're just listening and responding, they're actually trying to make the other person look good. And because
Hmm.
they're both doing that, or the group is doing that to each other, we want this to go, we want this scene to, we want everybody to have their moment and everybody to look good. Even if the points of view, this is the hard, this is when you get into like the more advanced sort of like,
Hmm.
this is where the experience comes from. You and I in a scene can have different points of view, and we don't have to concede our points of view. But when it gets into denial, or if I'm punching, the comedy phrase of if I'm punching down, if I'm
Hmm.
trying to just make you look bad in a funny way because or going for the cheap laugh, that can be funny. But it's like the one of these shows that people will be familiar with that I'm sure. Did you ever watch any episodes of Bob's Burger? And there's a bunch of them.
Yes, I love that show.
So
And Molly
part
hated it. I turn it on I like pilot episode, season one. Like I was into Bob's Burgers. I
It's my
love that show.
favorite example because you'll notice, first of all, most of those actors, as far as I know, their training is in improvisational comedy.
Mm,
Those voice actors, what
okay.
they're doing is they're not. There's no punching down, even though like shoot, I wish I could find a good example, but like it's so even though it's goofy and things are happening and there's like the hapless dad is always like the kind of the butt of the joke, but not in a negative way. They're
Hmm.
constantly like it's like a master class in yes and
Hmm.
they're supporting each other. Like even when the person is like, even when the antagonist, like the rival pizza the burger shop owner
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
across the street, they're still like setting each other up because they're like, a lot of those scenes are written through improvisation first. Like there will be a basic outline of, on this day Bob and the family are going to go to they're going to take a day off work and they're going to go to the carnival, that kind of thing. Like there will be a few like points to hit.
Right.
There's a plot line sort of, but then everything else, those like you can tell that it's like very off the cuff because the performers in character are trying to make each other like look good. It's a great example of like super positive comedy, even though it's like, it's badly drawn and it's kind of like it can be, it seems silly. It's I think it's amazing. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of another good example.
So it's never, in other words, especially in improv, like you're talking about, whether it's Whose Line Is It Anyway or Bob's Burgers, the entertainment value comes from never really putting like punching down, like you said, but at the expense of the other
Right.
actor. It's not
Here's
at the expense of the other person
here's
ever.
here's here's the that's correct. Now the opposite example of that, speaking of comedic cartoons, is Family Guy. Family
Hmm.
Guy punches down on everybody. Like it's they're known for it. They're
Yeah.
making fun of
South Park.
everybody.
South Park.
South Park is like the that's a great. But even like I mean, there was probably an argument there because they're master writers.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. They I mean, their kind of satire is we're gonna make fun of everyone ruthlessly. And
Right.
because sometimes so it makes like there's something like smart comedy is smart comedy, even if it's like, whoa, that's really mean.
Hmm.
Like, I remember seeing an interview of it was after, remember when Tina Fey was still on Saturday Night Live and she was doing her Sarah Palin impression?
Yeah.
It was masterful.
She
I
was so good
remember
at that.
after that whole period of time was over, I remember seeing an interview with Tina Fey and she was talking about how like she started to like because it like she started to become uncomfortable with it because it was actually like she didn't really want to mock anybody even though like politically they differed and I can't even remember all the Sarah Palin stuff but
Yeah.
she wasn't comfortable making fun of somebody because
Hmm.
it was turning into that and like there's a case to be made for since we've talked about comedy before there's a case to be made that recently like in recent years like a lot of the stuff that's on some of the stuff that's on Saturday Night Live isn't funny anymore because it's just like it's just making fun it's just mocking
Right.
and in fact there's a bunch of articles and podcasts right now about stand-up comedy is now becoming less funny it's kind of devolved in a way because everything is punching down
Hmm.
because it's the anti it's the woke anti woke like we had woke
Yeah.
comedy we had woke mentality for too long and everyone's tired of being told what to do and now we have the anti woke but now the anti woke stuff is like it's almost so in terms of comedy like it's
Hmm.
almost like so it's so easy to do that it's lazy it's hack and
Hmm.
it's not and it's all of it's
It's not
punching
funny.
down yeah
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally how like it is like literally how President Trump communicates.
Hmm.
He's the ultimate he's, I don't like and
Puncher
I don't want to
downer.
get like it's so funny because I the he's the ultimate puncher downer. Like we can agree on that. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Um what I don't get is well, I shouldn't say that. I do understand it. I don't like how no one talks to each other. Like
Yeah.
everyone, because both sides are so mad, and for good reasons about various things. Like, dude, I don't, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think about it. Like, because there's no defense. Like the reactive argument like if I say anything about MAGA, like if I say like if I go the MAGA,
MAGA.
then the
Yeah.
MAGA will be like, well, like what? Like, well, what about Biden? What about Biden? This isn't about.
Hmm.
He was as bad. Like,
Hmm.
we were being sold something and lied to, and people were being oppressed, and money was being made by people that already had a bunch of money, and the people that were working hard to make the money, the middle class disappeared, and on and on and on and on. That's, by the way, still happening. Do you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
I don't know what to think at all of like, so when like there's a lot of throwing around of the word war. We're gonna go to war. We're gonna go to war with the cities, the inner cities, and that's not a. I don't think nothing good comes from that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've found it funny recently too, the renaming of the Secretary of Defense to the Secretary of War.
Oh,
It's
is
not
that did that just happen?
a bit ago, but like Pete Hegseth is now referred to as the Secretary of War,
Oh,
not the
so that's like
not the Secretary of Defense,
okay.
right?
So that's yeah. So that's like we're going down a road that's not good, right?
No, and that's I think to your point, what you're talking about, what we're talking about is the punching down aspect, and at the expense of the other person is things have become so polarized in the political climate at this point that, when you talk about MAGA, it's like there's a certain half of the country that looks at that and is just disgusted by the concept or even the thought of whatever perception they have of what MAGA is. Oh, well, guess what? There's another half of the country that takes extreme pride in being a MAGA Republican, and it's just being pulled and stretched and pulled to a point. The polarization is so severe at this point that it's almost as if there's no other solution than punching down and accepting that tribal belief or the sidedness of this all. And now we look at each other as enemies, and that's terrifying, and it's
Oh,
not
this
good.
is here's one thing I saw. I almost texted you about it, but I don't want to fire off. I don't want to fire off text messages and memes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
I saw the and this is something that kind of affects us directly as like social workers, or it might in theory.
Hmm.
Oh, gosh. So, and I just don't know enough about this stuff. But like yesterday, Congress is going back and forth, and they're going to shut down. They're not going to shut down. Yet again, they're going to shut down. They're not going to shut down. Okay, so they're shut down right now. I don't know. But you
It's
go to the
yeah, it's on the brink. Like it's yes.
okay, so
It's
no one can agree. Great,
right.
got like that. Okay, fine. So I go to I see this link, and I go to the HUD, the Housing of Urban Development website, HUD.gov,
Yeah.
and the federal administration has put a big message on there. The radical left, what does it say? The radical left is holding this country hostage or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen it?
Yeah, because the reasoning, at least in my understanding behind the shutdown, is everyone's all up in arms because the radical left, the radical democratic leftist
Okay,
woke folk, they are not going to accept anything that's moving forward with this new whatever's being proposed, what bill, whatever or not it is, because
right.
they have demanded the $1.5 trillion be assigned for the management of healthcare for illegal, undocumented, folks that come in our country. So because they can't have that their way, they're not, shut down XYZ, whatever. So what do you
Okay.
got?
Yeah, here's like all of those decisions and who's right about what and where that money. So again, I mean, I can't even like manage $20. So over coffee, and I'm offending people, and I'm just like, so the in the big red square here on the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's website, in the big red square, right?
Yeah.
As you go, the radical left in Congress shut down the government.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we think that that's the best way? That's what is that going to do?
Nothing.
Like that is so
Just piss a bunch of people off.
the
That's
phrase
that's what it'll
everyone's
piss everyone
yeah,
off.
it's going to piss everybody off. It's going to piss off. It's a rallying cry for the MAGA
The
elite.
MAGA Republicans, yep.
So now and the left, the radical left. So the labeling of things like that and the name calling is which both sides have been doing for too long now. This has to end, or this doesn't end.
Right.
Because where this goes now is like this is yet another shot across the bow, and the silent majority, the conservative leaning people of the country have felt unheard, and they've felt talked down to, and they're sick of it. Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Okay, cool. And the woke left went too woke for too long, telling everybody their business. Now, can we at least agree that both sides are terrible at spending money?
Hmm.
Like,
Yep.
all right, so we can agree on better management and allocation of government funds, taxpayer fund, but like blaming the poor immigrants, that's it's just sending us in a direction that's like I don't know, man. Like
Well, it's not
Oh,
healthy. I mean, that's what we talked about last chat we had was the transition between civil strife into active civil war. It's like this is what we're seeing is it's not getting better. But yeah, go ahead. You had a thought pop in.
well, because I struggle to find a point of view. Like I don't have any one strong feeling or the other. So in my work, dealing, I shouldn't even say, I shouldn't say it like that.
Dealing
Dealing with the
dealing with
homeless.
yeah.
Some days, dude, some days it's like, what?
Well, it's just,
Like,
just working with the homeless. Yeah.
working. Some days you're like, I'm just putting up with like,
Yeah.
anyway, I love my job, but it's got its challenges and people are in all various stages of mental health, behavioral health, lack of care, life choices, and all these different things. It's not one thing, it's many things. And, and the fact that there's organizations like the one that I work for that are in a position to try to fill in these gaps where people can get people that want to like really put their life back on track or maybe on track for the first time. Like I don't have anybody on my caseload that's in this for a free handout. That's just not how it
Hmm.
works.
Yeah.
Are there people out there? Yes, of course, but those aren't the people that we're helping. So okay, there's the soapbox with that. But it's like I don't have any skin in the game. Most days we're just trying to assess emergency, urgency. What can we do? Like we're trying to help people just get the basics. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Yeah.
if it's Democrat or if it's Republican, dude, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
but then there's force, so then like I don't even really care about guns except that like let people have their guns. Like
Yeah.
but except if there's enough people who shouldn't be having access to guns, that's a problem. All right, we got to
Yeah.
do something about that. Now we don't round I have yet to see come to fruition any entity like for a long time it's like the Democrats are going to come and take your guns. Okay, so that hasn't happened. Like that's not
Hmm.
happening. Can we please have an actual conversation about mental illness? And I also it doesn't help to get into like I don't know what motivates somebody to get a sniper rifle and assassinate somebody. I don't know what motivates somebody to have a react to drive a truck into a church building on Sunday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
so then we start playing because we're all internet sleuths now. We start picking apart these images and these pictures, and we go, well, he's got you know going down the rabbit hole of like all the stuff that exists on social media. And there was also the sniper shooting in there was another Army veteran in North Carolina. Like, you can't even keep up.
No,
So
you can't.
like
Well,
so
and you texted me about the ICE facility in Dallas. Like we texted about that.
yeah.
It's it's just it's like every other day now. There's something that's coming up, it's popping up, and it's wild.
So
It's
I think
wild.
about so this is where I try to find like perspective and something that is like I feel like can orient the conversation. So or like meaning from my perspective. Like
Hmm.
I want to understand how to feel about these things.
Right.
And if it's sides, then sides. I mean, I hope not, but like all right, I don't even sometimes I can't even get oriented to even decide on a side. So if somebody like someone that we have mutual respect for, the prophet and the president of our church who just passed at 101,
Yeah.
President Russell M. Nelson, especially in his last couple of years, one of his most powerful, like fervent messages is the need to end contention and
Hmm.
avoid contention and avoid hate and this public dialogue. I've never heard him say anything like that before when he was talking about like online dialogue specifically, and he said it's alarming because it is.
Hmm.
And I don't know how to reconcile the two.
Hmm.
We have a political leader who is on the warpath, and there's nothing that as I see it, there's nothing that isn't contentious about this presidential administration. And there's many people that I know and care about and respect that are also members of our church. Not that like religion has anything to do with it, but as an ideology and a moral center. Like this is, do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know how to find my way through it other than I can only focus on the individual in front of me. So one thing that's
Right.
extremely valuable over the last practically year of our conversations is, well, I know my friend Casey, and okay, let's start. So we start there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like I'm definitely, I don't want to be on the side of evil,
Yeah.
but what if it's all, what if they're all evil? Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Totally.
Can it
I
be like, are
agree.
they all like, and so a very like
Well,
hardcore, go ahead.
here's just something I'll add to that because at least from the sleuthing I've done and what I've heard, and this was actually from an interview of a local politician in Michigan who
Okay, I
was
thought you were gonna. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
no.
Good. No, I
So
thought you were gonna.
I have a point here.
Okay, good.
He was canvassing around the neighborhoods where this incident happened, and in the interview, I forget who was even hosting the interview. I could dig it up and share it with you if you're interested. But the whole point is, he said this politician who's running for some local seat, he said, I ran into that guy as soon as they posted the photo of the guy that caused the incident in Michigan by driving his truck through the wall of the church and opening fire on a congregation that was there to worship. I remember having a conversation with him when I was canvassing, and what we got talking about a lot of different things because he wanted to know what my policies were and all that. And he actually said, he said, we got on the topic of religion, and for some reason the LDS Church came up, and to this man, he was expressing his deep, profound feelings that the LDS Church was the Antichrist.
Hmm.
So, in this person's perspective, this individual's thought process was he was out to go do good and fight against what he considered evil. So, it's just like to your point what you brought up, it's like, I don't want to choose the side of evil. That man literally saw one of our congregation groups in Michigan as the Antichrist, and he went to go do something about it. Right? Do you get where
Mhm.
I'm what I'm talking about here? Like where it's all about perspective. In that
Right.
man's perspective, that was his perspective. He was trying to stop some form of evil that came in the form of the LDS Church and go commit this act of, again, senseless violence that just destroyed. I knew so many people. I'm not from Michigan. I don't know a lot. Don't know anyone that was involved with that, but to see how people are reacting to every time these incidents are happening now, like every other day, it's heartbreaking and it's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch. And that comes not even after 24 hours after learning that our beloved prophet at age 101 had passed away. I got the message it flagged on my phone. It was night, like kids were in bed. You know, Molly was in bed. I think I was up just watching a show or something like that. And I ran straight up to our bedroom and I said, Molly, President Nelson passed away. And like there's some emotion there,
Yeah.
you know? And then to wake up and like get the other notification after we have our meetings from 9 to 11 in the morning and then, oh, here's the news. So a church building was just attacked because stuff like that, I can't remember. I can't recall. I mean, I remember when Howard W. Hunter was prophet, and there was some event going on at the Marriott Center, and that was the big news was that someone was like basically holding the Marriott Center hostage. Do you remember that at all?
No, no.
He was being held hostage by a bomber that claimed he was all jacketed up with basically C4 and was going to blow the entire place up.
Wow.
You should look back into that because that honestly is the last time I can
Wow.
remember something as like and at the end of that all nothing happened. Um, Turned out that the bombs were fake and the guy ended up getting arrested and whatnot. But I can't recall an incident that's happened at whether a church building or a temple as uh as severe as what happened on Sunday in Michigan.
So as like a as kind of a that is that's interesting. I guess maybe this I don't want to get off topic because I like talking about this, but I don't know if I like talking about it.
Right.
I appreciate talking about it. So you as so for so just as like something a little more like I got to pick part of it that I can get my head around, or like
Hmm.
because I'm trying to decide like I'm trying to learn how to like. So you as a responsible gun owner,
Yeah.
and you have a whole bunch of guns. You just
I
have
do.
guns. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yes, I do. I have
So
a lot. I
now
have a good collection.
we live in a world where a lot of people have access to high-powered weaponry, and they are using them in the most irresponsible way possible,
Right.
regardless of what they perceive that they're fighting evil, who, whatever. They're they're using their vehicles as weapons, and they're using their weaponry as weapons, and
Hmm.
they're putting a lot of there's a lot of training that goes behind using some of the, especially these more powerful ones. So as a gun owner, that's frustrating, right? Like
Very,
because then
very
because
frustrating.
because a very like at least in theory a reasonable reaction to that is like, okay, we need to dial it back. Why does so many people have these guns?
Hmm.
Like
So I'll give you a little perspective
that's
on
a
that.
great question.
No, it is a great question because where we get frustrated and lumping whoever on my side, we'll call it my side. I'm just sharing my opinions,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
thoughts.
yeah.
We hear folks on the radical left. No, I'm not going to use that language.
Right.
We hear folks on the left coming out and saying, "Well, you get your Beto O'Rourke's who are like, damn right, I'm coming for your AR-15s. We're gonna round them all up. We're taking them away from you guys, you know." And this is a guy that running for politics in Texas. Like,
Oh,
no,
okay, okay. Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
that's not gonna happen, right? But you get the other folks on the left that are clamoring for common sense gun control. Well, what does that really mean when you break that down? I think where a lot of people don't understand, like the process to actually own a firearm is in most, if not all states, it's very comprehensive, but it also takes honesty. Because some of the questions that you're asked are you addicted to any illicit substances? Are you an alcoholic? Do you participate with recreational drugs? If you answer no to any of those questions, you're not going to get sold a firearm.
Well, and so that's kind of interesting, like, and not to dig down, not to get lost in the semantics, but like, so the recent people that that the recent run of alleged shooters and things, these aren't people with addiction problems that we know of. Like, that isn't prevalent. Like the Charlie Kirk assassin,
Yeah.
the this guy that drove his truck with a gun into the church, this person in North Carolina, all these, even the school shooters. No, no, I
Hmm.
mean, there might be some. They're not like they're not in a blackout drunken stupor. They
Right.
might be on. They might be. There might be cases where they're off certain meds that they should be on, but
Or what I would add to that is they are on certain medications that they have been prescribed, which side effects include increased incidence of suicidality, right?
whoa,
When you look at your Cymbaltas, and you know, I'm not throwing any specific drug under the bus, but when you look
right.
at the black box warnings for some of these medications, and basically the point I'm making, and believe me or don't believe me, but when you look at some of these school shootings, the
Hmm.
perpetrators behind these shootings, at least the most recent trend has been transgenderism, um, the Christian school shooting where basically because you can track down some of these manifestos, there's a common theme with mental health struggles, but also being on medications to address those mental health struggles, whether
So
it's
like
your
certain types of like estrogen, testosterone, that kind of stuff? Or are you talking
well,
about like
no,
antipsychotic stuff?
antipsychotic medications,
Oh, okay.
your SSRIs, SNRIs, you know, things like that. Those
Oh, got it.
classifications of medications are very common as far as patterns go. So, in my opinion, I don't think it's like because to tighten up the the gun registry, because I mean, let's be frank, that's what it is. When you buy a firearm, it comes with a number on it. So the government knows who has what, and they can track ballistics that come from that gun. So that
Hmm.
if someone breaks into my house and steals a gun out of my safe and goes and kills somebody with it, I'm on the hook for that because they just used the firearm that I purchased,
Yeah.
you know, with the appropriate paperwork to say that I can be a responsible gun owner, right? Now,
Yeah.
here's the thing you can only regulate this stuff so much, right? And just look like you think people that don't go through background checks can get their hands on guns? Yeah, absolutely. I think this is it's a problem in America that I don't think's going anywhere. I think there's more guns in this country than there are human beings,
Hmm.
like by far. And that's going to be tough to get rid of. But I think the big push that folks I got, like I said, my side would make is um, we have a mental health crisis, and these people are getting their hands on high-powered rifles
Yeah.
and doing very wicked things with the equipment, and at
Yeah.
the same time, I'm gonna go down, to my own grave saying that the Second Amendment was a very inspired amendment, when the founders were founding this country, that the whole purpose of firearm ownership is so that if a tyrannical government were to rear its ugly head, the people will have some semblance of a chance to fight against that tyrannical government. And that's the whole point of the Second Amendment, is to fight tyranny, which if we're getting, it's closer and closer to these moments where it's like, oh, okay, I understand why the Second Amendment's a thing, right?
But what if the tyrannical government has motivated it doesn't allow for the reality that it could be that the government that has current political power or sway over people has sway over a people who have the arms. So if we
That's
can
correct.
say, and
Right.
I'm not casting aspersions, I'm saying, like, let's say the current administration decides to start acting. I mean, it's certainly throwing around the word war pretty freely. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that, I'm not equating that with tyranny, but I'm saying that stereotypically the conservative right has guns and is
Correct.
pro-gun, and the radical left, well, maybe not the radical left, but historically, in a very stereotypical way, the left is doesn't have, they don't, no one has the guns. Although that's not really accurate, but like,
It's changing. It's changing for sure.
now we have a whole we have a a populace of people that have access to guns, both sides.
Hmm.
Both sides now have an extreme faction. There's the radical left, and then there's the extremist right, or we'll call it whatever. Like, but the common thing there is, oh, there was something you said, or maybe it was Phil in the message thread, and I didn't want to get into a discussion because texting is not a place
It's
for
the worst.
discussion.
Right.
Oh, it was something you said. Yeah,
Yeah, what
that's
did
why
I
I'm
say?
glad- Well, and I knew what you were expressing, but you're like, you're like, Phil, maybe somebody knew that you, because he just came out of, like, he just had surgery, and he had this lip, and you're like, oh,
I did
maybe the
say.
nurse knew that you were MAGA, and she's the radical left, and she
And she
punched
punched you
you
right in the
because
face.
because you were something had happened that day that you were like you were coming from an emotional place, and I think you're mostly just being funny, but you were like, and so this is where I didn't want to call it. I didn't want to be
That was
reactive.
Sunday. No, that was Sunday in
Oh, it was
Michigan.
Sunday. So yeah,
Michigan
we
happened
were
on
all in our
Sunday.
feelings on Sunday, and you were like, that's what the radical left, or that's what extremists. No. You said that's what the radical left does, is they act scared and violent, something to that
Hmm.
effect, right? So what my reactive, but it's not a radical left thing. It's an extremist thing.
Hmm.
So extremists on either side act scared and violent.
Yep.
It's not just, it's the current narrative, and maybe this is why I'm like alarmed or bothered by the, but I'm not alarmed. I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed at both. I'm annoyed that we even have to say sides, because that's divisive.
Right.
Like, and I don't like extremism and lack of, like, compassionate conversation, and maybe that's all gone. Maybe there's no time for, it's just, here's how it's going to go until we're pointing guns at, like, we're all just like picking sides, and it's literal civil war.
Let me
You know
find
what I mean?
something keep talking. I gotta look something up real quick.
And like, if, like, within our church, I mean, there's this, I need to read more. Sometimes I feel like I don't even have the words, and that's probably because I need to spend more time thinking about these things before I talk about them. But like, the fact that a couple weeks ago in Utah County, which is predominantly LDS, not, but it's just,
I found my thought, but keep going.
so Mormon country, Orem,
Uh-huh.
Utah County, there's an assassination. A couple weeks later, another extremist of a certain type We don't know the answers yet. Drives his truck into a LDS church in a completely different part of the country. It's sets it on fire and shoots people, men, women, children. Okay,
So sad.
yeah, like so it's so bizarre. I can't even get my head around it. You know what I mean? But the fact that this happened twice on, like, if these were Jewish, like let's say they were Jewish synagogues, or like,
Unbelievable.
do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
or they were Muslim mosques, or like it was like a Muslim, like predominantly Muslim part of the country, or excuse me, community, and then there, you know what I mean? We'd have
Hmm.
a much different, like, but because it's like, dude, that's bizarre to me, and it's not, and I don't know how to process it.
So my thought was, and this will kind of be kind of like my final thought
Okay.
is because you do hear and it's so the rhetoric's violent. So when you talk, your point is like in the heart of Utah County, LDS, Happy Valley, this incident happens, Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. He was murdered in cold blood, right? And you hear guys like the governor of Illinois, like J.B. Pritzker, stands up and he starts citing. Have you ever heard of the four boxes of liberty?
No.
Okay. So this is a 19th century American idea that proposes there are four boxes to be used in the defense of liberty. Number one is the soapbox. So, and this is a term you and I throw around. It's like I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a
Right.
minute, right?
Right.
So the purpose of the soapbox is to express, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second box of liberty is the ballot box. So you can have an effect with your voice on the soapbox. You can have an effect by going to the ballot box. Okay, the third box is the jury box.
Oh.
So the judicial aspect of this all. But guess what the fourth box is? If you run out of options with box one, two, and three, the last box is the cartridge.
Oh.
And this is early, like 19th century concept and the American idea that proposes that there are four boxes to be used in the defense of liberty. Number one, the soapbox, the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge. We only get to the cartridge when ideas cannot be shared anymore and voices need to be quote unquote silenced, and there is nothing to talk about. That person deserves to die. I will shoot that person because there's no point in even trying to carry on a conversation with that person. And when you get politicians, even to this point, whether it's right, left, right, current administration, past administration, folks that are running as governors of certain states in this nation, proposing this idea. But the funny thing is about in the speech the other day that Pritzker gave, he referenced the boxes and he referenced the soapbox, the ballot box, and the jury box, but then he didn't say the cartridge. And I
Mm.
think there's reasons behind that because that's very inflammatory. That because that's language that basically says we've exhausted all other options at this point. Now it's time to grab your guns and go for it. Because the only box we have left to stand on is the cartridge box, which is essentially ammunition or ammo. And to see where we are now in this country to get to that boiling point is it's frightening because it's being unabashedly shared in groups of people that we're at the cartridge now. And it's that just means that conversation is gone and there's no room for it anymore. There's no point because you can't use your soapbox and express ideas anymore. And that's terrifying. That's why what we're doing is important. I really do believe that 100%.
Well, I mean, like, we have nothing but like, we have nothing but each other, and so, like, ideologically, like, we have to come to some understanding,
Right.
because if we're being, I'm trying to think of what bothers me most about, like, well, yeah, I can, okay, I'll be transparent. Like, do you have to go?
No.
Okay.
No.
President Trump, from the President Trump's social media X, I think it was Twitter. There was this very well written. This is why I don't think he wrote it. It was, first of all, it was written with correct like
Grammar,
it wasn't. Yeah, well, and I mean like usually a president.
syntax.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
used when he was for. We have many instances of when President Trump texts and tweets, it's all in caps,
Hmm.
and you can tell. And the caps are all weird, and the grammar's weird. This was written extremely like it was written like it was just written by it was written by somebody else.
Hmm.
Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I can't prove anything. But he said something very nice about the life of President Nelson.
Right.
What a great, I don't, but it was like by far the most calm and like loving thing I've ever anyone has ever seen him write in a long time.
Right.
Assuming it's him. I don't know. I can't prove that it's not. Whatever. Who
I'm
cares?
gonna pull it up because I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was and it
Phil
was
put it on
written.
the thread.
Whoever did write it, like let's say someone didn't write. Let's say someone wrote it for him, like his social media person. They did write it in his tone. It does sound like him saying it. Like it's a well written tweet,
Yeah.
and the content of it is beautiful. So our MAGA friend posts it as like, look at this from one president to another. Isn't this lovely? And my reaction was like, he has no idea who he's even like Donald Trump wishes like that does those two men don't belong in the same sentence in my mind. In my mind.
Right.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and I'm not like I just don't like you grandstanding politicize. I'm like, see, President Nelson passing away, or that obviously I'm too close to it because like these are members of my church. There's a reason to bring the flag to half mast all of a sudden. You're going to capitalize on the assassination. This is where I'm all over the place. I'm just going back to the day of the news of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and immediately the president is like, this is a martyred hero. Wait,
Yeah, that was 3 weeks ago today.
yeah,
Yeah.
like no one even knows this guy. I mean, I know a lot of people know him, but a lot of people also didn't know him, and he wasn't a veteran, and he was who he was. Like I'm not, and I also don't want to take anything away from. I'm just giving you I'm talking you through my reactive mind to these things.
Yep.
I'm like
Yep.
half-mast, like, and dude, it was impressive. I mean, when the federal government says get those flags to half-mast, they come down quick, dude. I was in a farm town in Idaho, in near a town that has not even like one stoplight 20 miles away, like in a lake, standing in a lake, and on my phone goes beep, and then as we're driving back into town, the flags are half mast.
Yeah.
It had barely happened, like, and then part of me goes, that's kind of like amazing that we're that connected, and it's also like like what in the world is happening, and then you can't even get any information because everyone's like, well, look at like this is all the stuff that he said in the past because everyone has access to everything because everything lives forever on the internet, and it's like
Right.
hypocrite. And then the extreme left is saying like they're mocking it and they're like rejoicing in the death of this person, and they're just like, and they're laughing at the pain of like, so that's gross to say the least. And then that causes a reaction from the other side. And now like all that's gross. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the hateful contention. So then when I see like, I can't even, and I took a moment. I mean, I didn't respond. I go, wait a minute. Like, I don't know I don't know the billionaire Donald Trump. He just said something nice about the president of my church who had a life of service, and he was a world-renowned whatever his tweet said was really like it honestly was beautiful.
I've got it. It's pretty short.
It was beautiful. Read it.
So it says Russell M. Nelson, the president and prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, passed away last night at the age of 101. He just had his birthday earlier this week, which is pretty cool. Like he literally just celebrated his 101 and then passes away in that week, right? Russell was sharp and engaged in service up until the end. Our hearts and prayers are with his incredible wife, Wendy, his 10 children, 57 grandchildren, and more than 167 great-grandchildren, as well as members of the church all over our country. Russell had a remarkable life, pioneering life-saving heart surgery techniques and, of course, his ministry of many decades. He was a great physician, literally and spiritually, and will be greatly missed. Great message.
That's amazing. And I choose to believe, uh, you know what? Maybe Donald Trump really did write that. Like, why would I? I mean,
Yeah.
I just can't go down the rabbit hole of
No,
like
it's
everything's
hard
a
to
conspiracy.
it's hard to believe. It's hard to
It's hard to
believe.
believe that because 2 days before that, and I don't like this. It's this. I'm just giving you like the. it's like I go to the quote. I even wrote it down. Like I go to the quote where he's in the press conference with RFK Jr. and he's talking about the, the quote that like about the Tylenol and the Advils and all that.
Yeah.
That's dude.
He pulled
That's
a
not a
Biden.
good.
That was hilarious. He couldn't even say acetaminophen. He's like,
Dude, I
the
wrote it. I
it's
wrote it.
Tylenol, whatever,
So
Tylenol.
I wrote it down, but I didn't even, and I was going to send it to you, but I'm like, but I don't want to do that though. I don't want to, heaven forbid I'm ever in a, I mean, I can't even get through a sentence just talking to my buddies. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what it's like. You know what I mean? But it's like, because I can go down, I can be prey to like the reactiveness of it. I'm like, I'll have these strong emotional reactions and I don't post on social media for this reason. Like, because I don't want that. Like I don't want to look at even if I don't agree with the president, I don't want to be in this mocking, bullying.
Well, that goes to what we talked about earlier this evening is the whole concept of punching down at the expense of someone else. That
Right.
that, that drives contention.
Right.
And I need to get better at that because I say stupid little things and I agree. Like it's on a text thread and I may say something super flippant, but no one really knows like if I'm joking. Like, yeah, I was joking. I was trying to be funny in the thread,
But it
and but I said some stupid stuff and it's like I
but it
can
was
knock that off.
it used to, but it also was funny.
Yeah.
And we can't like 5 years ago, like everyone's so sensitive now.
Right.
And
No, that's true.
partly because people are dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm not laughing at it. It's just because it's so unbelievable. It's like, oh well, now the contentious dialogue that used to just live in comment threads and message threads, and then like the snarkiness and the memes and da 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 da. Oh well, now there's guns though.
Yep.
Like, and now people are dead, and then one side's going, oh good, or they're happy, and the other side's going, how dare you? This is a martyr, and then everyone's going, well, wait a minute, he was probably great. Maybe he's not a martyr, or maybe he is. I don't know, but we can't talk about it because then,
Right.
then you go then, and this isn't like then. This is when I had to put the phone down. You start looking at all the different pictures and then the conspiracy theories. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, forget it. Like I can't go into like total delusional non-reality or I'll never come out of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think
Like,
that's where a lot of us are stuck, honestly. I'd like to not include myself in that, but I'm sure I've fallen victim to some degree of that. That's where we're being led to because who's the father of all contention? It's the adversary, it's Satan, it's the evil one, That's he thrives off of contention. And we've shared that scripture before, 3rd Nephi, contention is of the devil. And it's just being fueled to the max these days. And it's like it's just trying not to get stuck in that trap is it's very hard. And I think it's overwhelming for a lot of people, and people are just succumbing to it, which is really sad. To the point of the cartridge box. That's what it's turned into. Because we're losing the soapbox. We've got to go to the cartridge box now. And it's
yeah,
not a good place. Not a good place. But we can end the convo on a
hmm
positive note.
yeah,
Celebrating President Nelson's life is something worthy to do. That man was incredible. Not only the things he did, like, per the text, whether it was from President Trump or not, like he said some pretty incredible things in there about the prophet that served our church for the last 7 years. I mean, do you remember when he came in after President Monson had passed and he gets called as the prophet, as the presiding, you know, apostle, the president
hmm
of the Quorum of the 12, typically will get the calling to act as the president of the church, who now, as we would probably expect, Elder Oaks is going to step into that role, most likely. We don't know 100%. But it was like day one, ministering, kind of somewhat new concept. Not really, because in my mind it's always been home teaching, ministering. They're synonymous. It's like the same thing to me. But getting a different lens on what ministering really meant, right? And
That's
then
right.
turning our homes into Christ-centered homes. So insightful and so prophetic because of what was coming down the pipeline in COVID. We couldn't even go to our churches to worship if we wanted to, but he had
Right.
already prepared us as a people to make our homes Christ-centered so that we could worship in our own homes.
Right.
Like,
That's
very
right.
prophetic. He did so many cool things and made so many, I mean, all the temples he's announced that are that are dotting the globe. And it's like, that's become one of my favorite things at the end of conference now is let's listen. It's the last little bit of the message where President Nelson sits there and says, rattles off 15 different temples that are going to be built here, 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 here. I'm getting one built like literally a stone's throw away from my office. It's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
so anyways, my point is we get to celebrate President Nelson. He's such a good I would say is such a good man and he served well.
Yeah,
He
I have
served
it.
very well.
I have a. He has this. I have a special. He has a special place in my heart because at a pivotal time in my life, not too many years ago, a church leader had um, perceived that I was really well, and like just knew that I was really struggling, and probably could even see some things about my life that I couldn't. But really, really struggling to get my footing spiritually, like. And there was the sobriety journey, and then there's everything that
Yeah.
went along with it. And
Yeah.
so that spiritual recovery journey, and this person suggested to me at the end of a conversation, he said, and it was right after President Nelson had been called, and I said, is there anything else that I can be doing or working on or something to that effect? And he paused. So this was my stake president,
Hmm.
and he paused and he said, which he doesn't usually do, but he said, actually, here's what I think you should do. I would invite you to I would invite you to go back and read and study every conference address that President Nelson has given, which is easily
It's a lot.
accessible
And
on the
it's a
app.
lot.
So it
Yeah.
goes back to he was called as a general authority and as an apostle, like in the 80s, I think 1985. So, and this isn't. I'm just this isn't like it wasn't some feat of like I'm not this isn't like a brag or anything.
Hmm.
I just was like, in fact, I remember saying, yeah, he's like, I think you should read everything he's ever written and really study and get to know and become familiar with his teachings. And so what I did was I went through and I studied all of his talks, like chronologically, and then
Hmm.
I also looked up and listened to and studied. And when I say study, I mean like this isn't like an exhaustive thing. I just like it was like a
Yeah.
daily, like one a day for a period of time. Also, his BYU speeches. So any
Hmm.
address that he made in the office or as a general authority. So here's why I'm telling you that is that like everything that he suggested to do, I did in those talks. I tried to do, not all of them, but for the most part, like there was one time where he said when President Nelson talks about like the necessity of needing like changing everything. When we make our decision to live a Christ-like life and we try to be more like a covenant people, sometimes that means we have to change everything, even
Hmm.
down to the way we breathe. I remember that sticks out to me that he said that. And I did that. I have tried my best to do that. And changing everything and what I've seen so what you and I talk about, like the urgency the urgency with which he taught the principle of ministering one person to another,
Right.
caring for the needs of an individual has changed my life. It saved that person that stake president that challenged me to do that. That changed my life because I wouldn't
Hmm.
have thought to do that otherwise. Then I liked President Nelson. I knew about him a little bit, but I never thought to like to and the way so when the leaders of our church speak, I listen differently. At least I try
Yeah.
to. And what it's done for me though is it makes me aware of my like if I focus on the individual first, that saves me from myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, I don't know what's going on, or like I don't know what the answer is, but I can focus on the individual in front of me. That I learned from President Nelson. And that is what I'll apply to whoever the next, like whoever the next person is that's called as the prophet. Like I would, I because with the, I can do something with that. Like I
Yeah.
can, if somebody comes to me and is asking for help in a specific way, like even if I don't have the immediate solution for their problem, they have my attention, and
Hmm.
I can pray for them, and I can like be, or I can just be with them. Most of what I
Yeah.
do of value at work, for the most part, other than maybe like documentation, or like, like helping people, like documentation is kind of a big part of it and super tedious, but I can give, I can listen. That's actually more valuable than we realize, because somebody's is remembering what it's like to be seen. So
Hmm.
I learned that from President Nelson. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
I'd never done that before. That
Yeah.
saved my life because I was not on a good trajectory.
That's incredible.
That my life
Do you
was
remember
going the other way.
do you remember that talk where he broke down the Greek translation of repentance,
Yeah,
the metanoia? I love
yeah,
that because it's just to the point you were just making about the power of change, and that's literally what that word means in the Greek form of repentance is a significant change of mind and heart, right? The journey of changing one's mind, heart, self, or way of life, because it all boils down to change and what we're willing to accept as far as our imperfections and the shortcomings that we have, and the imperfect people that we are requires constant change. And that, like, I learned that was one of my favorite talks he ever gave, was when he broke down that the Greek translation of repentance. It's so cool.
yeah,
So rest in peace, President Nelson. He's a stud.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I do truly believe we're going to still receive profound and vital guidance in these days, because as volatile as things are getting, to have someone like a President Nelson and whoever steps in that role, whether it's President Oaks or whoever it may be, we're going to have to really rely. I'm stoked for this weekend. Conference weekend coming up
yeah,
is it's going to be amazing.
yeah.
And then in a couple short weeks after that, party.
Yeah, we're all going to be at your house.
Party at my house. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I love
All
you,
right.
brother.
Good talk. Love you,
Hey,
brother.
you too. Love you.